Let me ask you something. What if a war happening thousands of kilometers away decides whether your next medicine is available or not? Sounds extreme, but think about it. Your medicines don't come from one place anymore. They come from a global network. And when that network is disrupted, the impact doesn't stays on the battlefield. It reaches your pharmacy. So, friends, today at Pharma Health Insights, we are going to uncover a hidden reality how war can quietly disrupt the entire global drug supply. Let me start with something very real, not theory, not headlines, just real life. Imagine you walk into your regular pharmacy, same place you have been going for years. You give your prescription, you are relaxed, routine, and suddenly your pharmacist gets up and says, "Sir, this medicine is not available." Now, pause for a moment. How would you react? Would you think maybe this shop doesn't have stock? Maybe the supply is delayed? But what if I tell you the real reason is not local at all? It's a war happening far away and somehow it has reached your pharmacy. That invisible connection is what we are going to uncover today. Before we go further, let me make something very clear. This video is not about politics. I'm not here to tell you who is right and who is wrong because in healthcare there are no sides. A patient in need of insulin doesn't care about geopolitics. A hospital waiting for critical drugs doesn't care about borders. So today, let's look at this through one lens only, medicine's availability, because that's where the real impact is felt. Let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about the journey of a single tablet? Not where you brought it, but where it actually came from. Because the truth is that one tablet may have traveled across continents. Let's break it down. Raw materials from one region, API manufactured in another, formulation somewhere else, packaging in a different country, and finally it reaches you. So when you consume that tablet, you are consuming a global system. Now think carefully. If one country in this chain is disrupted, does the system adjust smoothly or does it struggle? That's where the vulnerability begins. Here's something most people they don't realize. The pharma industry is not designed for disruption. It is designed for efficiency. Companies optimize for cost, speed, continuous flow, not for long-term interruptions. Let me ask you, how much stock do you think companies can maintain? Not months, not years, sometimes just weeks, because holding inventory is expensive. Now imagine what happens if the supply stops suddenly. There is no cushion, no backup, and that's where the system starts showing the cracks. Think of it like a domino chain. One small push and everything starts falling. Let's take a simple scenario. API shipment gets delayed. Now tell me, can manufacturing continue? No. Then, no production, no finished goods, no distribution, and slowly the pharmacies start running out of the stock. That dangerous part, this doesn't happen instantly. It builds silently until suddenly it becomes visible everywhere. Let's talk about logistics because this is where the war hits first. Let me ask you, if ships cannot move safely, what happens to bulk medicine transportation? If flights are restricted, how do urgent supplies move? If borders become strict, how does cross country flow continue? Exactly, it doesn't. And pharma is not like other industries. You cannot say, let's deliver next week, no worries. Even a delay of few days can impact patient care. This is how critical logistics is. Now, let's go one layer deeper. Something majority people they ignore. Energy. Pharmaceutical plants are highly sensitive environments. They need continuous electricity, controlled temperatures, stable utilities. Now imagine during war, power supply becomes unreliable, fuel becomes expensive, backup systems get stressed. Let me ask you, can a pharma plant run efficiently in such conditions? Not really. And this leads to reduced output, shutdowns, delayed production. So, even without direct damage, production gets affected. Now, let's bring this closer to reality. Money. During war, fuel prices increase, shipping costs rise, insurances become expensive. Now, think like a manufacturer. Can they absorb all this cost? Difficult. So, what happens? Prices increase. Now, let me ask you who ultimately pays? The patient. So, now we have two problems. Medicines may not be available. Medicines, even if available, they may not be affordable. That's a very dangerous combination. Now, let's talk about the most serious impact shortages. Not general products, essential medicines. Let me ask you which medicines cannot go out of stock? ICU drugs, insulin, cancer therapies, emergency injections. Imagine a doctor saying, "We cannot proceed, the drug is unavailable." That moment is where supply chain becomes life and death. Now imagine a hospital scenario. Doctors start adjusting treatment, substituting medicines, delaying procedures, reducing dosage availability. Let me ask you, is this ideal healthcare? No, it is not. This is compromised care. And it happens not because doctors lack knowledge, but because the supply is broken. Now, let's talk about human behavior. When people hear about shortages, what do? We panic, we buy extra, we store medicines just in case. Now, let me ask you, what happens when everyone does that? Shortages increase. Even if supply is limited, demand suddenly becomes much higher, and that creates a self accelerating crisis. Now, let me ask you something very honestly. In any industry, can you increase speed without increasing the risks? Maybe in some industries, yes, but in pharma, very difficult because here quality is not optional, it is critical. Now, imagine this situation demand is suddenly very high, supply is already struggling, and companies are under pressure to deliver faster. So, what happens? Production cycles are pushed. Timelines are compressed. Decisions are taken quickly. Now pause and think. Can validation be rushed? Can testing be shortened safely? Can quality checks be compromised even slightly? This is where real danger begins. Because in pharma, even a small compromise is not a small mistake. It can directly impact patient safety. And this is why speed versus safety becomes one of the most critical battles during any global crisis. Now, let's step into the shoes of regulators. And I want you to really think about this because this is not easy. Let me ask you, if medicines are running out, what should regulators do? Option 1, take full time, follow every process, ensure perfect compliance, and then medicines get delayed. Option 2, speed up approvals, relax certain steps, ensure faster availability, but then the risk increases. Now tell me, which one is right? There is no perfect answer because both decisions come with consequences. During crisis, regulators often have to move faster. They may approve alternate sources, reduce inspection frequencies, accept conditional data. Now ask yourself, does this increase supply? Yes. Does this increase risk? Also, yes. And this balance is one of the most difficult decisions in pharmaceutical ecosystem. Now let me ask you a strategic question. If a company realizes that its supply chain is vulnerable, what will it do? Will it continue the same way or will it change? Of course, it will change. And this is exactly what happens during global disruptions. Companies start looking for alternate suppliers, exploring new manufacturing locations, reducing dependency on single regions. Now, think about this carefully. If multiple companies start doing this, what happens globally? A massive shift. Supply chains begin to realign. New regions become important. Old dependencies start breaking, and slowly the global pharma map begins to change. Now, let's go one level higher from companies to countries. Let me ask you, should a country depend on another country for essential medicines? Think about it. If tomorrow's supply suddenly stops, what happens? That's why during crisis, countries start thinking differently. They start focusing on local manufacturing, API independence, strategic reserves, because medicine is no longer just a commercial product. It becomes a matter of national security. And this shift is not temporary. It can redefine the future of the pharmaceutical industry. Now, let me ask you something interesting. When one part of the world becomes unstable, do companies just wait or do they move on? Yes, they move. And that's where global power shifts. Pharma companies start looking for new manufacturing hubs, more stable regions, reliable partners, and slowly control of the pharmaceutical supply starts shifting. New countries rise, new leaders emerge, and the big question is who will control the future of global medicine? Because this is no longer just about supply, it is about strategic dominance. Now, I want to speak directly to the professionals because this is very important. Let me ask you, in normal times, what do we focus on? Routine operations, compliance, audits. But in crisis, everything changes. New roles like QA, QC, supply chain, regulatory become even more critical. Why? Because now decisions have to be made faster, risks have to be managed and mitigated better, quality has to be protected under pressure, and this is where real expertise matters. This is where professionals are not just doing a job, they are protecting patients' safety at a global level. So, if you are in pharma, this is not just a challenge, this is your responsibility. Now, let's pause and reflect on everything we have discussed today. Let me ask you, what's the biggest realization here? That medicines are not local anymore. It's a part of a global system. And in a global system, a disruption anywhere creates impact everywhere. So when you see a shortage in your city, the cause may not be local at all, it may be global. And understanding this connection is extremely important. That small tablet that you take every day looks simple, right? Just a small piece of medicine, but in reality, it represents a complex supply chain. Multiple countries, thousands of processes. Now imagine if even one part of that system breaks, the entire chain is affected. That's the hidden complexity of the modern medicine. So, friends, let me leave you with a question, and I really want you to think about it. Are we prepared for a global medicine crisis? Not just governments, not just companies, but all of us. Because disruptions are not rare anymore, They are becoming more and more frequent. And the real question is, are we really ready to handle them? I would really like to hear from you. Have you ever faced a situation where a medicine was not available? What do you think? Is the world prepared for such disruptions? Let's discuss this in the comments because this is not just information. This is conversation we all need to have. If this video has changed the way you look at medicines, then you are already thinking differently. Because today, understanding medicine is not just about knowing drugs, it's about understanding the system behind it. And that's exactly what we do here at Pharma Health Insights. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do because this is just the beginning.